So I've just been down to old London town, and while I was down there, I found this little book full of Christmas stories. Lots of short stories from different authors, including Dickens, Tolstoy, etc. Now, this is the third time I've done this video because I was trying to read this story, but it's definitely too long, albeit a short story. So I'm going to give you the background and just read out the last chapter, because this one by Saki, also known as H.H.munro, called Reginald's Christmas Revel, I thought it really does perfectly represent, albeit from a very layman's perspective, what the solstice is all about. So this chap, Slepstoff, has recently lost his son, and in the depths of his grief, he collects his son's belongings from school. And amongst them, his son was a butterfly collector, because this was, of course, set quite a way back before we stopped doing things like that, because it's not very nice. And amongst the collection, there was a large cocoon. And the young boy, just before he died, had said, the cocoon hadn't burst open, so he thought the creature inside was dead, and so the father's bringing the belongings back to the house, and this is where the last chapter starts, as he's coming back home. The night was smoke blue and moonlit. Thin clouds were scattered about the sky, but did not touch the delicate icy moon. The trees, masses of grey frost, cast dark shadows on the drifts, which scintillated here and there with metallic sparks. In the plush upholstered, well-heated room of the annex, Ivan, who was the butler, had placed a 2-foot fir tree in a clay pot on the table, and was just attaching a candle to its cruciform tip, when Slepstoff returned from the main house, chilled, red-eyed, with grey dust smears on his cheeks, carrying a wooden case under his arm. Seeing the Christmas tree on the table, he asked absently, "Sat?" Relieving him of the case, Ivan answered in a low, mellow voice, "There's a holiday coming up tomorrow." "No, take it away," said Slepstoff with a frown, while thinking, "Can this be Christmas Eve? How could I have forgotten?" Ivan gently insisted, "It's nice and green. Let it stand for a while." "Please, take it away," repeated Slepstoff, and bent over the case he had brought. In it he had gathered his son's belongings: the folding butterfly net, the biscuit tin with a pear-shaped cocoon, the spreading board, the pins in their lacquered box. The blue notebook, half the first page, had been torn out, and its remaining fragment contained part of a French dictation. There followed daily entries, names of captured butterflies and other notes. "Walked across the fog as far as Borovocci," one extract said. "Raining today. Played checkers with father, then read Goncharov's Frigate. A deadly bore. Marvellous hot day. Rode my bike in the evening. A midge got caught in my eye. Deliberately rode by Hadaka twice, but didn't see her." Slepstoff raised his head, swallowed something hot and huge. Of whom was his son writing? "Rode my bike as usual," he read on. "Our eyes nearly met. My darling, my love." "This is unthinkable," whispered Slepstoff. "I'll never know." Because, of course, he's just found out his son fancied someone, Bent over again, avidly deciphering the childish handwriting that slanted up and curved down in a margin. "Saw a fresh specimen of the Camberwell beauty today. That means autumn is here. Rain in the evening. She has probably left, and we didn't even get acquainted. Farewell, my darling. I feel terribly sad." "He never said anything to me," Slepstoff tried to remember, rubbing his forehead with his palm. On the last page there was an inked drawing. The hind view of an elephant, 2 thick pillars, the corners of 2 ears, and a tiny tail, just a doodle, as children do. Slepstoff got up. He shook his head, restraining yet another onrush of hideous sobs. "I can't bear it any longer," he drawled between groans, repeating even more slowly, "I can't bear it any longer." "It's Christmas tomorrow," came the abrupt reminder, "and I'm going to die. Of course, it's so simple. This very night." He pulled out her handkerchief and dried his eyes, his beard, his cheeks. Dark streaks remained on the handkerchief. "Death," Slepstoff said softly, as if concluding a long sentence. Obviously, father was just deep in his sorrow, planning suicide. But then the clock ticked, frost patterns overlapped on the big blue glass of the window. The open notebook shone radiantly on the table. Next to it the light went through the muslin of butterfly net and glistened on a corner of the open tin. Slepstoff pressed his eyes shut and had a fleeting sensation that earthly life lay before him, totally bared, incomprehensible, and ghastly in its sadness, too humiliatingly pointless, sterile, devoid of miracles. At that instant, there was a sudden snap. A thin sound, like that of an overstretched rubber band, breaking. Slipstop opened his eyes. The cocoon in the biscuit tin had burst at its tip, and a black wrinkled creature the size of a mouse was crawling up the wall above the table. It stopped, holding onto the surface with 6 black furry feet, and started palpitating strangely. It had emerged from the chrysalid because a man overcome with grief had transferred a tin box to his warm room, and the warmth had penetrated its taut leaf and silk envelope. It had awaited this moment so long, had collected its strength so tensely, and now having broken out, it was slowly and miraculously expanding. Gradually the wrinkled tissues, the velvety fringes unfurled. The fan-pleated veins grew firmer as they filled with air. It became a winged thing, imperceptibly, as a maturing face imperceptibly becomes beautiful. And its wings, still feeble, still moist, kept growing and unfolding, and now they were developed to the limit set for them by God. And there on the wall, instead of a lump of life, instead of a dark mouse, was a great Atticus moth, like those that fly bird-like around lamps in the Indian dusk. And then those thick black wings with glazy eye spot on each and a purplish bloom dusting their hooked foretips took a full breath under the impulse of tender, ravishing, almost human-like happiness. I loved this story because, having been through a lot of grief myself, losing my dad, you do come to a point of hopelessness. What's the point in life, etc. And I can imagine losing a child is so much worse. But this little miracle on Christmas Eve, this rebirth of life that never was, is truly representative of what solstice is about. This season where everything seems like it's dying, but really it's only resting, just waiting for that warmth to wake it up. So that's why I quite enjoyed that story, and I thought I'd share it with you, albeit I couldn't share the whole story, but that last chapter was the one. So I'll speak to you on the next one, my loves, and as per usual, a very happy solstice, merry Yule,